So in this video, what I'd like to do is basically show you the steps for taking your automata in Onshape and getting the basics of the motion part of your assembly put into place. So what I have right now are a few things that are assembled. I have my bottom plate fixed. I have my side plate attached to that with a fastened mate. And then I've got a guide in there, an axle bushing, and then my axle. So basically, what's happening right now is I can grab my axle and I can spin it, but nothing else is assembled and attached to it yet. So what I'm going to do in this video, in this demonstration, is show you how I'm going to put those additional parts in place. So one thing I need to do is I need to add my top plate. I'm going to go and insert that from another document. And I've already gone through and started looking for that stuff. So I'm going to look for my automata that is another design studio. And I'm going to scroll down and hopefully find that in my Onshape. So here's my automata box top. I'll go ahead and select that and drop it into my assembly. And I can press check. So I got to go ahead and assemble this on here. On my box top, I'm showing that there are 4 holes for followers to pass through there. I'm just going to use a fasten mate. I'm going to choose to assemble this with the center mate connector, and I'll do the center mate connector on this part as well. Let me orbit this around so I can see it. And then I just need to find the offset that will get that into place. I'm just going to do a little guessing check. No, going the wrong way still. There we go. We're going the right direction now. So I think it's probably 2.5 or 2. And let's see, let's look at that from the right side. So I've got 2 things I got to clean up. Got to move that over just a little bit still. No, going the wrong way. And I've got to go up a little bit here as well. There we go. All right, so let's get that part dialed in first. I think it's probably 0.25 that it needs to be up. Yep, because that's the width of the material. And 2.25 up, about 2. Or maybe 1.75. Nope. We're getting close. Probably 1.875 it looks like. Hey, there we go. All right, so that's all good. I can press the check, and I've got that part assembled. Look, it's sideways. That's terrible. All right, let's take that and let's actually fix that then. So one thing to know, if you didn't already, is that you can double-click on a mate and change that. I'm just realizing I need to flip that. So that changes all my offsets, which is great because I spent all that time figuring those things out. That should have been a clue maybe that my offsets were a little bit weird there, but whatever. Oops. We're getting close. So I'm going to go back to my right view. I know I need to go up a little bit. I know I need to come over a little bit. And let's get those things dialed in. So knowing that I can go and edit a mate in Onshape is really powerful because it means you don't have to nail it perfectly the first time. You can always go back and tweak that stuff. And there we go. Now it looks finally good. All right, so I've got my top plate attached to the rest of my assembly. And now what I need to do is start putting in the parts of the mechanism that will actually animate my automata. So this is where we really want to focus in. I'm going to zoom back out a little bit. What I've got right now is I've got this hex cam with fillet. This is one of the parts that was in All Company Users. I made a copy of that. I inserted it into my assembly already. And now I'd like to go ahead and put that in place and add a follower so that the follower actually rides along with that cam. So in other words, the follower moves up and down when the cam moves. Okay? So first thing I need to do is actually attach the cam to the axle. That's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to use a fastened mate. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and find the center mate connector on here for the hole. That can be a little tricky sometimes, but there's the center mate connector for that hole, for that square hole. I'm going to zoom around here and find the center mate connector for that axle. And I must have gotten the wrong mate connector on my hex cam because it didn't like that at all. Let's hit X. Let's try that again. This is the place where assembling can sometimes be just a little tricky, is just making sure you're getting the right ones. Oh, I see what happened there. I grabbed the mate connector from I was grabbing the mate connector from the side there. And it appeared like I was doing the other one. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to click and grab the center one there. zoom back and grab the center one here. And now my cam should get attached to there. All I have to do is offset it. So again, I'm going to go to my right view. I'm going to offset this, and I basically want to make sure that it lines up with one of these holes. I'll choose to do this third hole from the left. So I'm moving this, I believe, across the Z-axis. Yep. So my offset needs to be a little bit less still. Looks pretty close. I'm going to zoom it in. I'm going to scooch that over just a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. If I look down from my top view, I can see the cam through there. Looks like it's pretty well centered. I'm going to call that good enough. We're going to press the check. So what I've got now is I've got my hex cam that's just assembled onto that axle. So I'm just going to grab this axle and turn it. And the test is if the hex cam turns along with it, then it's assembled together, and that all looks great. Okay. The last thing I need to do, though, is I need to actually put my follower in there, and I need to get it assembled so it both slides up and down, as well as riding along the cam. So it actually has a relationship with that cam. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to first off insert a specific follower. So in all company users, there's a file called follower with point edge. I'm going to click insert here. I'm going to go over to other documents. And I've already made a copy of this, follower with point edge. I'm going to insert that into my assembly. So you'll need to go and get that from all company users, open it up, make a copy of it, and then you'll be able to insert it into your file. So I've got to think about two different kinds of mates for this. First off, I want to actually add this so that it has a relationship with this hole in the top plate. And that's going to be using a mate that we have not used before, which is a slider mate. Well, most of us probably have not used before. I'm going to go ahead and click on slider mate. And for this slider mate, what I need to do is just choose my mate connectors just like usual. I'm going to choose that top mate connector of the circle of the hole. And I'm just going to choose the center mate connector of this follower. So now if I zoom back a little bit, I can see that it dropped it into place. You may have to flip things around, but I think this looks pretty good. I'm going to grab this and drag it up. One thing I'm noticing is if I look at this directly from my right view, this edge here needs to be rotated 90 degrees. So my follower needs to get rotated 90 degrees. So I'm going to click on my, my rotate there. And let's see if that cleaned it up, and it looks like that did. So now that edge is parallel to the edge of this. So I think I'm looking good there. So let me click the green check, and I can test this by just grabbing this follower and moving it up and down. So the problem here, as you can probably see, is that it thinks it can just slide right through the cam, which we don't want. We want that to have a specific relationship. So again, this is where we're going to use a new type of mate that we have not probably used before, which is called a tangent mate. So what we want to do is we want to say that this face of the cam is tangent to a very specific part of this follower. And specifically, it is this edge right here. If we try to do this face, Onshape will freak out, and it'll look like it's working for a while, and then it'll lock up. We very specifically want to do this edge on that follower. So I'm going to click the green check. And now I'm just going to check this myself and say, okay, when I rotate this, does my follower behave like it should? Now, I didn't attach a crank handle or anything to this yet. So what I can do is I can come over to that revolute mate. I can right click on it and choose animate. And then what I'm going to do is change this to say loop, because I'd like to see it just spinning around in a circle. I'd like to see if that follower follows along correctly. So I'm clicking play. And it looks like it is. So that's awesome. If you don't get it right the first time, it's always a good idea to go back and double check your tangent mate, especially because it's very easy to get that wrong and then to have this not work as well and just lock up. So I'm going to hit stop here and basically just let you know that the next steps of getting the rest of the followers and cams on there and mated and assembled is exactly the same process no matter what type of cam shape you're using. So that's the process.